This is NAB Show Live.
Hi, I'm Steve Wong. I'm a technologist that focuses on the media, technology, and telco spaces with DXC Technology. Today, my guest is Tim, the CTO of Avid. And Tim, welcome, and we're excited to have you here.
Thank you, Steve. It's a pleasure to be here.
So now, most folks may not remember this or know this, but I mean, you're like the real deal. You're an editor that started out in the trenches with, cutting, music and things like that with Pro Tools. So give us just a snapshot of what that was like before you joined Avid,
Sure.
as an editor in the Bays.
Well, it was a really exciting time. Of course, it was really the dark ages, 30 years ago when I started my career. And that was really, at the time when we were making that analog to digital transition.
Painful.
And it was painful, and it was very much a black art for those of us who were on the digital side. So it was exciting, at times painful, but very fruitful. And now we have this amazing industry to show for it.
So now I've got to ask you, give me the day in the life working with Oliver Stone in that movie you worked on with him.
Yeah, so I worked on a movie called The Doors, an Oliver Stone movie. It was a really fun movie to work on, and I worked in the music department as a music editor. What happened there, again, in this intersection of analog and digital, we wanted to use the original music of The Doors, and we ended up replacing the vocals with live vocals from Val Kilmer, the actor. And so my job was to keep up with the picture department, and they were cutting still on film, on a flatbed, and in the music department, because we were dealing with lots of channels of audio, so multi-channel audio, to be able to edit dynamically in a nonlinear way to keep up with the picture department was really the challenge. And so I used an early disc-based recorder. This is in the era before Pro Tools. I used an early disc-based recorder to capture all of these channels of audio, and then do multi-track editing in sync with the film editing team. And I did that for 9 months, partly because it was Oliver, and at that time he was he kind of had carte blanche. He had won a couple Academy Awards, and this was very much a labor of love for him, this particular show. And there was so much footage. The first assembly I saw was 4.5 hours, and the theatrical cut was, I think it was about 2 hours 20. So we had to take almost half of the show out, and it was painful every time you would lose an entire concert scene or a part of a scene, and there was sort of a mourning process. So it was very much a whittling down exercise, but to try to continue telling the story and giving that audience perspective. So it was a great learning opportunity for me, both technically and creatively.
So remembering back to those days of being an editor, what was your biggest challenges that you faced?
Well, I think in those days, you were, as a creative person working with technology, always wrestling with the technology. So that was the challenge, to get these machines to do what you needed them to do to pursue your creative intent and your vision. And so, as I say, it was a bit of a black art, and just learning from your colleagues all the little tools and tricks of the trade. It was a challenge. Now it's amazing. Now the technology that we as an industry have created for people like me in the industry, that makes it possible for them to do amazing things, but just more quickly and more expansively without those technology constraints. And that's one of the reasons why I shifted after working as a creative technical person in music and then film and television. After about 10 years, I switched over to the vendor side because I was drawn to that side of things, to make life better, to make my cohorts in media and entertainment more creative. And I just found that very compelling, and it has been for about 20 years now.
Wow.
Working on the vendor side of media and entertainment, yeah.
So now when you came over, you took all that knowledge, all that pain, and you helped Avid win an Oscar.
Yeah, so when I started...
What was that? What were those knowledge points you brought to Avid and say, we probably need to do this, and the Academy came back and rewarded you for that?
Yeah, so when I joined Avid back in 1998, Pro Tools was seen as a tool for doing like creative sound design, but not for doing dialogue editing, not for doing mixing, not for doing even music recording, anything synchronous to picture. It was considered subpar, and basically it wasn't widely adopted. So it was just like a little effects box you'd have on the side. And when I joined Avid in '98, it was DigiDesign at the time, my goal was to bring Pro Tools into the mainstream of post-production and make it successful. And I could see that the technology was there, but as you say, it was missing a few things. So one of the things that was missing was really reliable interfaces for things like synchronization. Could you synchronize to SMPTE time code, or could you lock your clock to blackburst for television? Could you interface with a film projector with the biphase interface? These are things that Pro Tools was not good at. And then there were features in the app. Pro Tools really emulated a tape machine with a mixing console at that time. But in film and television, you needed to have a different editing model. So we did a bunch of editing features, and we did a bunch of post-specific features having to do mostly with interfacing to the outside world. And a few years later, we won a technical achievement, for Pro Tools. I'm proud of that, as is the whole team at Avid. And I looked it up. Avid's, we just won our 16th Emmy Award.
Wow.
And we have 2 Oscars and 1 Grammy. So I don't think any other company has 2 Oscars and a Grammy. And I think it could have changed now, but last time I looked, the only other company with 2 Oscars was Kodak. So we're really proud.
You don't want to follow the track
No,
record
we don't want to, well, but for film, for the heritage of film,
That's true.
Kodak's pretty big, but I think your point is well taken. So we're really proud of the innovation we've done, but we're most proud of what that's enabled our customers to do.
So now let's talk about that. So that's you. You got the background in the industry. The company, was there at the forefront of that digital age, right? So what do you see as the future? Where is Avid going?
Yeah. So one of the things that surprises me is the innovation that's still happening in the creative industry within media and entertainment. No matter what level of maturity we reach with the creative tools, there's always more. And that's because we have creative customers always pushing the envelope. So we're investing still, actually more than ever, in tools like Media Composer and Pro Tools. In fact, we just launched a new version of Media Composer. It's going to be available next month, and it could possibly be the biggest Media Composer release ever. So we're really committed to the creative tools and really inspiring our customers to do amazing things with them. So that's one piece of it, and that will continue to be part of our future indefinitely. We just see that as, again, the horizon moves out in front of us. We're never done on that journey. And then I would say, when we look at how technology is deployed, we see a lot of changes. We see now a lot of adoption of the cloud in the industry as a whole. And
you made a big announcement a few years ago about that.
Yeah. So a few years ago, we decided to start in our cloud journey by connecting our Pro Tools users. So we created a cloud-based service called Avid Cloud Collaboration for Pro Tools. So the idea in the name sort of expresses it well. Get people collaborating, and it's been a real learning experience for us. And it started us down a journey, and now we have several SaaS solutions available in the cloud. We just launched yesterday a new SaaS storage product. So we've taken Nexus, this very successful storage product for on-premises. We've extended it into the cloud now with something called Nexus Cloud Spaces. And so cloud's a big dimension of what we're doing now from an innovation standpoint and where I think things are going.
So now tell me, so you made an announcement to go with Azure to do that as a partner. Now when you went through that, why Azure as opposed to some of the other folks in the market?
So 2 years ago we announced a strategic partnership with Microsoft, and the thinking behind that, we had done about a year of proof of concept projects with large enterprise customers, broadcasters and studios, And what we learned in that process is cloud is really not about doing what you're already doing, but just lifting and shifting it to the cloud. Actually, that's what we did. Our first project, other than the cloud collaboration service for Pro Tools users, our first enterprise project was take all of our enterprise software, so Media Central and our asset management tools, just pick them up and deploy them in Azure.
Just lift and shift.
Lift and shift. And we showed it to a bunch of customers, and it was intriguing as like a technology experiment. And we even signed up some of them to do proof of concept projects with us to see, is it useful? Is it an effective deployment strategy? And what we learned is it's not actually attractive from a cost perspective or operational perspective. What our enterprise customers were looking to do was use the cloud as a complement to their on-premises infrastructure. They wanted to use it for use cases like disaster recovery or bursting into the cloud for burst capacity. They wanted to use it to connect their sort of islands of production, so for connectivity and sharing. And so that's why we pivoted into those kinds of complementary offerings. But the other thing that happened was we learned that no two clouds are alike. We did some projects on different public cloud vendors, and we realized there's a lot we didn't know about cloud, and we wanted to have a close partner. So we went through, as anyone would, we went through an RFP process. We went through a vendor selection process, and we ended up choosing Microsoft because we believe they have the best public cloud technology, but also because we could see that they would engage with us in a way that would not just be technical, although we've got great technical engagement there, but also in a go-to-market capacity.
Oh, I see.
They're a company that knows enterprise sales
enterprise,
and
right?
Customer support like nobody else, and so it was a very good fit for us commercially and business-wise, and it's been a great partnership. And things like this Nexus Cloud Spaces project that is now available to customers as a product. It wouldn't have been possible without a close partner like Microsoft.
So tell me about the media workflow strategy.
Yeah.
When you're coming to a client and he says, hey, I've got a bunch of editors here and they're cutting tape still.
Yeah.
I hope that doesn't happen, but maybe it does.
No.
What is that strategy? What do you tell your customers of, because they're going to use some of the stuff they have, they're not going to throw everything out, right? So what is that strategy?
It really depends on what their business goals are. I think with enterprise customers, so larger customers, they're at different places in this journey and their mindset about it. For some, as I say, it's just about give me a little burst capacity if I want to, I'm told I have to provision a bunch of edit suites for a new pilot that's come in, and I don't have any physical room for that, and I don't have any workstations or software. My choice is go and capitalize a bunch of that stuff, or just light up a bunch of editors and storage in the cloud for 3 months, and then see what happens. Maybe the pilot gets picked up, maybe it doesn't. So many customers are in that mode of looking at it as giving them business agility and operational agility, because you have this unlimited ability to just kind of burst up your capacity. But other customers look at the cloud as more transformational, and are thinking just as an adjunct.
Changes their business.
Yeah. So we have customers like like HBO, they've gone completely virtualized with their Media Composer infrastructure.
Wow.
They have a new facility in Hauppauge, and they, instead of having edit suites with workstations, they have deployed Media Composer in VMs in a big server farm, and now they have essentially virtual edit suites. And
that's really an interesting way to chase tax credits too.
It is.
Yeah. Pop your editor in this country, you get the tax credit for that post there. Or?
Yeah, and as someone who was an editor in the past, I would have killed to be able to leave at the end of the day, even though not all the producers had signed off on the cut. Maybe go home, and instead of having to come back in and make some changes at 10 o'clock at night, I could have just opened up my computer at home, signed in securely, made my changes, and moved on. We find for customers who've embraced cloud for editing, the utilization rates for their edit suites goes up. And it's partly because when edit suites are a precious commodity, people tend to hog them. They book them for longer than they really need them.
Interesting.
And then what happens is if you walk around, as I do sometimes visiting customers, you see empty edit suites. It's not because no one's booked them, it's because people have gotten greedy about it and overbooked. So with this cloud deployment pattern, they no longer have to do that. They can rest assured that if they need time in an Avid suite, they can just they can utilize a virtual edit suite. And so they're being more efficient in how they're working, and they have more flexibility. I used to do client supervised sessions when I worked in post-production, and they would all get very nervous towards the end of the session. Are we going to be done? Are we going to be done? Because some other client's coming in at the top of the hour. But now with these flexible deployment models, you know that, well, if you still need a half an hour, you can do that. You can continue work from anywhere.
It changes the whole model around, doesn't it?
It really does, yeah. It gives you a lot of flexibility.
So tell me why ACES was important for you guys. Why did you jump on that?
Yeah, so for a number of reasons. I think a lot of people know Media Composer. As the first time I saw Media Composer was actually on that Doors movie. They were playing around with it when we were cutting the Doors movie, and anyway, that's a fun anecdote. But most people think of Media Composer as an offline editing tool. So a tool where you do your creative editorial and then you output some kind of edit decision list or cut list, and then it goes somewhere else. But over the last decade or so, we have really renovated Media Composer to the point where it can work in high precision. I mean, if you want to do a project in 16K, I mean, you can actually go into Media Composer when you're starting a project and define that, those raster parameters, like anything by anything. And recently we've added things like full precision, like 32-bit full float processing in our image processing pipeline. You can work with OpenEXR files. We have ACES color managed workflow. So Media Composer is not about offline anymore, and that's important because with all of the production that's going on now, all the investment that's going into commissioning new content, in the race for mindshare in the global media marketplace, lots of people they don't want to have a segmented workflow. I'm just offline, now I'm in another tool, I'm doing color correction, now I'm in another tool, and I'm doing finishing, now I'm in another tool because I got to make an IMF master. So with Media Composer, whether it's OpenEXR or IMF export or even creative tools like secondary color correction, we've been infusing those into Media Composer so you never have to leave the box. You're in there, and you start your show, make your creative edits, and then you can do all your effects and finishing and then output. So ACES is just one facet of that. And a lot of it, to be candid, I'm sure as you know, the bar is being constantly raised primarily by Netflix. And they publish new delivery requirements. All of a sudden we say, okay, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and the rest of the industry follows a bit. So you got to partner with the kind of trendsetter or the vanguard in the industry. Yeah.
So they've got this great alliance that you guys are a member of. So
we are.
Is that how does that benefit you guys? I mean, is that like another Avid user group, or is there innovation? I mean, how do you see that?
So Netflix does have. One nice thing at Avid is we have a very large customer association, and this weekend has been our annual customer association festival. I guess is probably not the correct term, but
a lot of music, a lot of folks going around.
Well, and also a lot of sessions, technical sessions. We have committees that are specific to an area of focus in the industry. So we get a lot of information from the experts that we have, or that we're lucky to have as customers. So I think we have 30,000 members of the Avid Customer Association.
Oh, wow.
Every year we do a vote, and we just concluded the most recent vote, and they tell us what to do. They tell us here, and in fact this morning we unveiled the latest results from the latest vote from the Customer Association, and it tells us the top things they want us to work on in the different products, which is super helpful for us because we know if we do those things, customers will be happy, and happy customers, it means a more healthy business for Avid. So, but back to your question, with Netflix, we're lucky to have them as a customer, so we have relationships there. We're also lucky to have them as active members of committees in the Avid Customer Association. And so when they started down this road last year, they called us, and we had meetings with them out in LA. We actually invited them to Avid last October, and they came, and So we've been working closely with them to make sure we understand what they need, because as you know, there's technical specs, there's feeds and speeds on a piece of paper, but we wanted to really understand it from a workflow perspective. And I think that's one area of strength for Avid. We've, because of our history, we've always focused on workflow, not just technical bits and bytes.
So one thing that's kind of innovative is a broadcast cloud delivery system.
Yeah.
And when I used to work on television, they would say, you're an IT guy, stay in IT, stay away from the production equipment.
Yes.
But now we're seeing where IT is meeting broadcast, and what are your thoughts of a cloud-based TV system?
Yes, so what I've seen is that if you break down different aspects of content production, look at different disciplines and different applications, cloud adoption is in very different places. Yeah. So if you are looking at, let's say, linear playout in broadcast, cloud is now very, very mature. It's pretty unlikely you're going to talk to a broadcaster and they're going to say, I'm going to build a facility and equip it with a bunch of servers, traditional broadcast servers, and I'm going to play out from that center. Okay. They're all, in my conversations with them, either already doing or planning to do cloud-based, linear content origination, and so that's pretty mature. And if you were looking at, the overall adoption curve, I would say, broadcast delivery, super mature, and that's for traditional broadcasts, and for over the top, of course, it's all in the cloud because it was born in the cloud. Yep. But for other aspects of content creation, upstream of distribution, it's now more a matter of shifting over time towards more cloud adoption. But yeah, in terms of distribution, whether it's traditional linear or OTT, web and mobile and social, that's really very mature in the cloud now.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So tell me 4 things that our viewers don't know about Avid.
Oh, okay.
That you're going to surprise us.
All right. I'm going to, I haven't really thought about this, but I'm sure I can come up with 4.
It's sort of like what we talked about earlier. It's like, wow, I didn't know Avid did that.
Yeah, we were talking, all right, so I'll throw a few of those out. One is, many people don't recognize the breadth of the portfolio we have. They think of Avid as Media Composer, maybe they think of Avid as Pro Tools, but they're not thinking of Avid as the leader, the biggest provider of storage in the media industry. We are Nexus and previously ISIS and MediaNet products. They're the most successful storage products in the media and entertainment industry. So storage is a big part of what we do, even though it's behind the scenes. It's not creating magical images and sound. It's infrastructure, but it's powering all those media workflows.
Yeah, I like infrastructure. That's important, right?
Oh, infrastructure is everything these days. Content is king, but maybe infrastructure is queen. I don't know. I just made that up. The second thing people don't know about Avid is that we are a leader in broadcast graphics. We acquired ORAD 4 years ago, and they're an amazing company. They have been for many years, and now as a part of Avid, they've really infused our broadcast solutions with really magical graphics, whether it's traditional CG and broadcast graphics, or virtual reality and AR
I remember their virtual
live
sets.
production. Yeah, they started in virtual sets, and they're doing amazing things with photorealistic, real-time graphics and AR and live productions. People don't think of Avid that way, but that's a big piece of what we do now. We're also, we believe, the largest asset management vendor in media, primarily because we really invented the category called production asset management with a product called Media Manager and the Avid Media Manager, and then we renamed that Avid Interplay many years ago. We have over 2,000 Interplay systems deployed in the world, and we also have a full-fledged enterprise media asset management platform as well. So people don't always think asset management when they think Avid, but we're an industry leader in asset management.
I remember some of the folks that I talked to before, they didn't have a picture of a giraffe.
Yes.
So it's like, we have to go out and shoot this giraffe. If they had correct asset management, they could find that video of the giraffe. So
yeah.
That's
where we're investing a lot in AI. So that's another, I'll call that my 4th surprise, is we're really doing some interesting things with AI.
Now, who would have thought, right?
Yeah.
Editing in AI. But
Well,
some of the things we talked about earlier, it makes a lot of sense.
It
right?
does, and we started this pretty early. I mean, before AI and ML were buzzwords, we came out, I think it was in 2007, with AI-assisted editing tools. We had a product called Phrase Find and another product called Script Sync, and they're still great products today, but back in 2007, they were really mind-blowing because with Phrase Find, for example, you could search all of the clips in your across all the projects, maybe in your shared storage environment, and without having tagged them, but just using keyword search, you could find things using phonetic indexing. So that was like, wow, and so that's a mature technology now. And we also, with Script Sync, with either a transcript for a reality show or a documentary, or in a dramatic program where you have a script, we'd actually do an automated line script for you, something that an assistant would have had to do in the past. Just look at the audio, look at the script, and align them, and allow you to see, oh, for this scene, how many shots did we do? What's my coverage? I'm going to quickly switch and audition the alternate takes. This is all AI-based from 2007. Now, fast forward, we're doing much more with that in asset management, making it easy for you to find the needle in the haystack, as it were. So, because you're able to index with these algorithms, these AI and machine learning algorithms, all this content, you can find things like, show me an image of Barack Obama when he's outside in front of the, in a podium which has the presidential seal on it, and he says the words, Saddam Hussein, and bing, you could just get all those hits. It's like Google search for media, but leveraging AI and machine learning to help you sift and sort and find the needle in the haystack. That's just one of the things we're doing with AI and machine learning.
I never would have thought. Tim, I want to thank you so much for coming out today.
Oh, it's been a pleasure.
It's been educational, so that's awesome.
Well, good. I've really enjoyed it, Steve. Thank you.
Same here. Thanks so much. So that's what we have today, and we're going to be right back. Thanks for joining Broadcastbeat at NABlive. We'll be right back. Thanks very much.